There you go. All right, everybody. Hey, Kelly has requested a topic. We are here to serve. Kelly, throw it out.
I am looking for stress reduction techniques.
And I was going to say, that's funny because I'm actually working on a 3-hour session for the AT New England group that is going to be on Monday, November 1st. And so I was going to put it out there too, like what's your best social emotional kind of strategies across the board. But Kelly, I'll just tell you, I don't know if you can do this on the witness stand, but mine is, this is the best. It's called Pinch Me, and it's therapy dough. And at first I thought, it was like $15, and I thought, I'm not going to pay $15 for like Play-Doh, right? But it's a really like great silky texture, and it has a nice, very subtle scent. So I think it was $15 well spent. I don't know if you can keep that in your pocket on the witness stand, or at least have it, I don't know if it'll make it through like your security, but having a fidget, like, is there like a worry stone or a fidget or something that you could have with you? Because for me, that's a big stress reliever.
I think that's good. And Kel, I would encourage you, put something in your pocket, try to make it through security with that, because that'll make for a very funny story at some other time.
I'm on the virtual witness stand.
So then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So as long as it's not anything to do with contacting people while I'm.
Yeah. So, I will, if you see me and anything, I may very well, you can't see it, right? Like I may very well have my therapy dough, because anyways, I really do like this brand a lot. Like $15 seemed to me be a fortune, but I like it. It's just a good texture, and the scent is really nice.
All right.
Well, there you go.
I know I've got some of Lola's Play-Doh around here somewhere.
That works too. I've just used Play-Doh also.
I was going to throw that out, Kel. Take a walk around your office. I guarantee you could find something.
Yeah.
But I keep a collection. Like you can't see it, but like I totally keep a collection of fidgets and soothers and all of that, like right by my desk, because I need to fidget.
I'm looking at my desk just to see what I got. I don't really have
All
anything.
right.
I got a squishy.
I used to have a push ball around here, but I don't know where that's at. Lola probably took it.
I got a Lesson Picks heart squishy.
Nice. Maybe you'd give them out at some point.
Have an Asha flip flop from the San Diego 2020 conference that got canceled.
Did you say fidgets, anyone?
Yeah, fidgets. There you go. Now we're talking.
What are your favorite fidgets, Lori?
The tangles, again, because like the dough, they're quiet, and I can put them through my. I know that sounds silly, but and I have different textured ones. These silly little springy things. They're bracelets. They break easy, but even when they break,
one of those around here.
And there's again silent. My problem is I'm in a meeting. I need them to be silent.
Yeah, you need to. I gotcha. These are all good.
I have a few of the This is more for people who walk in my office. And then again, there's always the proverbial spinners.
Yeah.
And then I like the 3D printed gears. Actually, that's one of my favorite, because it's got a feel, and it's got like a vibe. I don't know, just my box of fidgets.
I can't wait to get back to in-person conferences, just so that I can be picking up new squishies. Like
all free
stuff.
stuff.
The squishies. Yep, I have a whole box of squishies
to find squishies.
Yep.
Rebecca's got hers on Mesmerized.
Yeah, what do you got, Rebecca? What's that?
I made it out of Legos. It's an infinity cube.
Oh my god.
Oh, I'll have to look up that.
And I bought the Legos and made it out of Legos so I can sit and play with it. So it's got a little bit of a click to it if you push them kind of hard, but otherwise they can be quiet.
Where's the direction? I needed that for Saturday, Mike.
I'm looking it up right now. You've totally lost me, by the way.
Yeah, definitely need to make those. Yeah.
To say, there goes Mike, never to return again.
I'm gone. You might not see me.
He's off.
Deal with my
I'm here, and I'll smile and nod when you guys all talk, but I'm not listening.
I'll
I
have to
don't
look
hear
and
you
see. I think
anymore.
I have it in Pinterest.
You're in the chat. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's
Right
great. I
on.
had so much to do today that has now gone right out the window. That's unfortunate. Oh boy, that is too bad.
Wow.
Well, thank you,
So
everybody.
excited.
go.
I'm adding this to my session for,
That's really
That's
cool.
what-
Because I have a
Yeah.
whole bucket of Legos in my office. And I'm gonna make one of those. That's fun.
I'm going to admit this because my family will tell you I'm an adult Lego builder. So there are Legos everywhere. And my grandchildren are totally hooked. So it's definitely a help, you know?
I had to
Never
buy
did
some very
Legos with-
specific ones because of the
Right.
angles, the pieces
Yeah, the
that
pivot
move
and the
angles,
angle.
But
Mm.
otherwise, I had all the other pieces.
Right. Which if you really need to get them, your Lego store has a wall where you can
Those
get pieces,
pieces.
or you can go on lego.com and you have to drill down, but you can buy every single piece solo for like pennies a piece. So you can even order the pieces you need specifically.
well, I
If-
guess I'm
if
gonna
you have
have a
to-
lot
If
of
you have
information on
difficulty
Lego.
finding them.
I might have,
I-
I swear my kids never did Legos. I might have a tub of them somewhere here left over.
Yep.
Now I
you
have
got
a
it.
reason finally to dig into
Oh,
this.
I found my instructions. I found my Pinterest link. I'll drop it in the chat.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like, I know I saved it because that's where I found it. Because I'm like, well, I have to build another one at some point in time.
So
Those are
next week
great.
when we all show up with our little fidget Lego
Yeah,
fidget.
exactly.
I'm pumped. I'm excited because
I do like the idea of the thing with the smell. So
Yeah.
it's very, and I'm telling you, you can order it on Amazon. I got it at a gift shop at the beach, but it was, for me, it was, I mean, I have, believe me, Kelly, I got Play-Doh tubs.
Just like here where I am, we can't have fragrance. So you just got to
Oh.
watch where
I've
you
been
are.
in an
Right.
office-
Makes sense.
I've been in an
Just gotta
office
watch where you
like that too, where somebody had a very sensitive,
One of my offices, we couldn't even have Sharpies. They were so sensitive.
oh,
That was
we
hard.
we all had to change, I had to change my body lotion and
Mhm.
body wash because
Yeah.
of one of our office mates for a
Mhm.
while.
I had a student once that we consulted on that you were not allowed to wear leather shoes because he was very much into the smell of leather.
Other.
Oh,
Hmm.
no, this was just an adult who just got headaches from it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leather.
All
If you're
right.
ever with Lauren Enders, don't wear anything because she's
Yeah.
highly susceptible to.
know that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
instant.
I
Yeah,
never
years
went
and years.
back to scented lotion after that because I found an unscented lotion that I really liked. So that was kind of like just made the transition, but I do occasionally wear.
Well, there we go. Our fidget
Okay.
/ lotion conversation. Fantastic.
So what is somebody else's, like, what are your favorite kind of social emotional strategies? Because I have a 90-minute session that I'm going to fill out. I'm going to do some hands-on stuff, but I'm going to fill it out from a 90-minute session, which probably would take 2 hours if I didn't talk at hyper speed. But so Kelly's topic of conversation was very timely for me.
Yeah, it was very timely. I'm like Lori. I like the Legos. That's why I have them in my office.
They calm me. They're logical. They calm me.
Yeah.
When I can't sleep at night.
Yeah, and in terms of training, like SEL supports, I've seen some really great check-ins, whether they're Jamboard check-ins or, quick. I've seen some great classroom use of that as a whole monitoring tool. There's some great stuff in Pear Deck that's already built for social emotional check-in. So if you're using Pear Deck, that just give that teacher a little bit of insight, like what's the big picture. And if you're using something like Pear Deck, then you can drill down and you on the teacher end can see what individual students said, like, this is a 1, I'm having a crappy day, but the whole class doesn't see that.
Mhm.
So I think building in some of those, and then I think it's not just, do we have a strategy to collect that information? I think we globally need to do a better job about educating our educators about what to do with that data. Like we talk about data walks and all this other stuff for academic data, but I think sometimes, you know, we were just having this conversation. I'm in the middle of a 2-day training about integrating trauma-informed care and sensory strategies for OT. And we were talking about the fact that like most of what I'm doing right now, when I walk into the classroom, the first 10 minutes are teacher care. And then I can actually go, how's so-and-so doing right now in the classroom?
Teachers are on the edge right now.
And sometimes it's like, I look at the teacher and I say, go take a 5-minute walk. I'm in your class, your kids are covered, go. Like, I don't care if it's go, you sit in the bathroom for 5 minutes, like just get. And like, that's probably the most well-received thing. I've done that. And then for my own little staff that I support, in the very beginning of the year, I think I told you guys this, or maybe it was an AT chat, I sent out a form that was like, how do you best receive feedback? But part of the questions were like, what are your go-to like guilty pleasures? And then what are your favorite like snacks or whatever? And like, nobody will see this, but like this week, they're all getting truck mail that has those things in it. Trying to, and some of it was like a bag of Lay's potato chips or anything chocolate, or, you know, some of it was Starbucks. So they're getting a little gift card, like just trying, because I know they're the people who are then trying to support my teachers. And I know what I'm trying to do to support the teachers I work with and how emotionally draining it is right now. And I think, you know, we have data on the effect of trauma right now, but I think in 2 years, I mean, even if we just look at the slice of kids who were either orphaned or lost one parent to COVID, just that little slice of data, not to mention all the other trauma effects of COVID. I mean, we have a large amount of those students in our district. And what the long-term effect of that is going to be, I think we have no idea. And then you add a layer of, this is a kid who has complex communication needs, who may or may not have the language to express, where the heck did my mom go?
Yeah.
You know, and then you add another layer, that's just trauma for you. So wait, I know, Alyssa, way to bring the group down.
Yeah, thanks.
No, I love this. I feel like you know, I'm no longer, I mean, I was an assistant principal, and I wish I'd heard what you just said 4 years ago. Like, how do you best receive feedback? I feel like that's like such an amazing question that I don't think I ever asked staff. And
I will tell you, I had trepidation about putting that out there and being like, you know, how can I best support you? Like, and how do you best receive feedback? Because it creates a vulnerability that we're not used to having to have those conversations. And I did it intentionally in a Google form. I'm not like staring people down in a meeting saying, tell me on the spot, how do you do this? But I think it's helped me tremendously already this year. I have a staff member that I had to have a sticky conversation with, and knowing like they wanted to see it in email and then set up a meeting to talk about it made that conversation happen so much more smoothly. And I would not have guessed that, knowing the person. I would not have guessed, hey, I want to just see kind of what we're talking about in writing, have time to think, process, and then let's have a conversation. That would have been the person I would have thought, hey, I can just kind of call them up and chat. And that wasn't the case.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. I like that a lot. And you're right. It feels so dangerous in the beginning to do that, because we don't ever do that. And I can envision people taking that as a bit of it gets them on edge right away to even ask. You know, it's almost like, well, why is she asking me this?
But I think when you're in I was in a supervisory position where every single one of my staff knew that was part of my job, right?
Yeah.
And I just, right now I'm like, oh my God, my principal and AP friends all need to hear that, like how asking and then I'm also seeing the flip side of it, offering, like letting somebody, you know, that works with, you know, like just want to let you know in advance, like just to set up for like everything to be the best possible. I receive feedback best, you know, this way. I know I hate it when people beat around the bush with me with feedback. I just want to hear it. Like,
Which is not the way 90% of the people want it. They don't want to just hear it.
Right. And I think that's where, like I said, I've been doing a lot of like Brene Brown, Dare to Lead kind of work on my own end as I'm thinking through coaching. And I think that was what kind of propelled me. But it was, you know, what's the best way to provide feedback to you? Do you prefer written, face-to-face, or you receive the written and then have an opportunity to meet about it? What's a strength or deep interest of yours that our team could benefit from learning more about from you? And then what's an area that you struggle with? And if you could change one thing about our job, what would it be? You know, and I think it, like I said, I was surprised by some of those answers. And it didn't take long for them to fill it out. And now I know like what people's sweet spots are literally, you know, like who would benefit, you know, from they're having a bad day. I have one that's Ruffles potato chips. I'm like, score, I can do that. Like that can be sent through truck mail and it's a little thing. And yet I think just those opportunities for us to be in tune with our staff about where are you? Where's your head at today? And yes, Mike, I was at you, of course. Sam. Of course it was you giving an Amazon recommendation.
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, that book and the combination of that and Dare to Lead, I think just as someone who I don't directly supervise these therapists and evaluate them, but I'm responsible for all of their support through the entire year. So in difficult situations, it's me talking to them and being able to just give that feedback in a way that they feel supported while I may still be challenging their thinking. And I think because of that, I felt more comfortable. Like I sent them, we're working on as OTs, they're working on what's our role in transition and like, you know, grade 11 on. And I sent them an entire packet of materials that's like, okay, I'm just going to put it out there. I know this is probably going to challenge your thinking, but it's all about neurodivergent affirming, you know, strategies from an OT perspective for transition. And I was like, I just know that people are going to be like, what do you mean I'm supposed to say autistic student? Or what do you mean? I said, I know it's going to challenge your thinking. Just like, trust me that there's great resources here. And from the people I've heard back from, it was positively received.
That's awesome. And then they will move that forward now to the people they are coaching and working with too.
That's the goal.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's awesome. Kelly, what's the resource you put in?
So Kusace and Polsner are also people that work in leadership and leading the way and strategies for listening to lead. So they're just other ones that I've used in some of my adult learning classes.
Awesome. Cool. Right. Between that and the Lego thing,
there's a website, but they have books and other materials, little cards to pass out to people.
Well, and I think stuff like that, and then adding in, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Lippitt Noster, like adding in that model to how I've approached problem solving, I think has kind of drastically changed where I might have looked at a situation before and been like, I'm not sure where to go with this. I'm like, okay, they don't understand why the heck we're doing this. There's no vision here. Let me go. Like, I think having all those pieces have helped. There's a lot of variables that we can't control when it comes to COVID and what's happening, and especially if you live in the state of Florida. But there's a lot that we can do to shift the conversation so that it's purposeful and effective, and not we're just going to kind of hang out here freaking out because we can't change A, B, or C.
Yeah. I think that's such a right approach now, because I don't know that any of us have the bandwidth for nonsense right now. And so if you can put that right out there on the front and be like, look, we're going to use these things to help focus and guide our work as we move forward. I would imagine people would all be like, thank you. I don't need to be lost in the kind of the morass of all this other nonsense that we normally do. Let's just cut right to it. And I think that's really good. And I think this idea of, you know, the Noster and those kinds of tools, not only using that for ourselves to guide the conversation, but bring that back into the conversation. Like I'm giving you this, or we're doing this because I heard you say these things, and that made me think we were missing this piece. And bringing them into the conversation, and again, starting to get our other colleagues tuned into what they're hearing people say, and what they're hearing other teachers and educators say, and what they're hearing even students and learners say. Just starting to get a sense of how to provide the best support quickly.
I do think it's very interesting, this, feedback you hear from people that this school year is harder than last.
Yes.
I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with it yet either. But yeah, and I think that's probably part of what informed my thought, Kelly, that people don't have time for nonsense anymore. I'll be very open about something, is I'm normally all for nonsense. I've also run out of time for nonsense now. And I see Naomi's picture, but she won't turn her camera on, and that's okay. Naomi knows we're having these conversations about nonsense, and I just don't have bandwidth for nonsense right now. And I think that I can appreciate others that don't also, and like, no, let's just get to it. What are you asking? What do we need to do? How are we going to move to the next step? Let's get going. Let's not kind of spin our wheels. I was going to say something else, and I realized I had my camera on and my mic, and I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Let's just do that. Let's just get things moving. It's frustrating at times.
I read there was an article recently, and I can't think of whether it was Washington Post or New York Times, that talked about the expectations of like that we were be back at normal, and it's not. We're not going. I mean, first of all, what we were, there's impact, like Alyssa was saying before, like
Right.
of what happened because of COVID, at many different levels, from high to low, but that's impacting our kids. But it's also I think there's some they were saying, what it was saying is there's some actual true stress that is happening for people that thought this was back to normal, and it's not back to normal, and they can't balance that yet.
Yeah.
And they're never going to be able to, because we're not going to be back where we were in 2019.
Right.
Like it's just not going to happen, right?
Right.
Well, and part of
so
it
there's
is
challenges.
uncertainty is the most stressful part
Mhm.
of our lives. And we're all living in such a uncertainty. I mean, teachers normally are able to lesson plan. This is my plan for the year.
Right.
My friends that are teaching in the classroom are like, I don't do more than 2 weeks because I don't know what's going to happen in these 2 weeks.
Yeah.
How many kids are going to go out on quarantine? How many are going to have to be virtual? So there's that lack of uncertainty.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on fall break this week, and thankfully, some of my schools were Thursday, Friday, some of them are Friday, Monday, Tuesday. So there's this conglomerate of teachers all taking time off right now, but they were all like, I feel like we're going into spring break.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, it's only fall break.
I know.
And everyone's already excited because we're less than a month away from a week off, because most of the schools here in Oklahoma decided to do a full week at Thanksgiving. And they're all just grateful that they're going to be counting down 27 days when they come back tomorrow.
But you're
Or
so
when they
right,
come back
Tiffany.
next
I said that on the chat, on AT chat last week. It's people are spring tired instead of fall energized right now. And that's trouble. That's not great. Because if that's where we are now, what is the spring going to look like? Right? We don't normally see what happens after spring tire because people scatter and they recharge. And now, we're not going to see that. Yeah, we're going to have that. That's perfect.
Well, and I think that the issue is that we're looking back last year where, our school year was extended until the middle of June, which meant our summer school didn't end until July, which meant teachers essentially, like if you worked summer school, you had 3 weeks off, maybe.
Yeah.
Because of when we started again. And so when you talk about that loop of like people being able to, have downtime and re-engage, for some of us, it didn't happen at all. And for others, it was so minimal that you just got to the point where you felt like you were relaxing and it was time to get back in gear again. And, you know, I am hopeful that that won't happen this year. But yeah, that we're seeing people at the done stage right now, and it's October 18th.
Yeah.
It's very scary for the premise of what April will look like.
Right. Right. And for some of us, I mean, and you know, some of your years are different, but I'll just strictly talk about my East Coast year. This is the 6th week of school. That's where we are. And to Tiffany's point, I've had friends that teach in schools that have already had to shift gears 2 times already this year. They had a plan, the plan changed. They had a different plan, that different plan changed, and now they're on a 3rd plan in 6 weeks. And so, you know, to think about this idea of getting traction with any of the kind of systems change pieces that we talk about a lot is really hard. How are we going to do that? You know, I have a team training tomorrow with a group, and it's our 2nd one, and I'm just curious to watch how that goes. Now that they've had a month since I've seen them, I'm curious because I don't see them or talk to them in between. I just see them on these days. And I'm very curious of what that's going to be like tomorrow. And first of all, I'm curious if everybody comes. Chances are high they're not. I think I'm going to accept that fact. But how many of them come and how willing they're going to be to take on new information tomorrow is going to be really interesting. And it's really making me think about what I pulled together, because I'm pulling it together today for tomorrow, but that's fine. That's me. That's okay. But it's really making me think about, well, what gets pulled together? Because is that something they're going to want to do? And maybe it's just, and I've taken some of the content slides that we were going to talk about and just made them conversations for breakouts. And they'll talk about whatever they talk about. And you know, whatever we get, we get. I think it's just really interesting. As this group goes through the year, I'm going to be very interested to see how it kind of ebbs and flows a bit as we move.
Well, and I think a lot of it also is, it's not just our teachers are done. Our students are burnt too. Yeah. I mean, normally doing the therapy level, the kids will come in and it'll be, okay, they've had a hard day, you know, get a heads up from a parent, get a heads up from a teacher. It's been a hard day. Okay, we're going to switch to a game. We could play games every single day instead of doing new learning, because some of them are just toast. I mean, I have one little boy who, bless his heart, all mom's report every day is he's in his classroom with his head down by 11 o'clock. And then he won't engage with the class after that. And it's like, he walks into my room and he's ready to work. I don't know what the disconnect is, but that particular school is a smaller private school, and they had a lot of growth from people who were happy that they stayed in session all year last year in person. So they had a large growth. And I think the oversized growth of the room is too much for him. It's just his sensory is just overloaded. So we've been talking about a lot of ways of how can we, you know, limit that sensory in that classroom, but still be functional in that classroom. Yeah. So, I mean, it's affecting the kids as much as it's affecting our teachers.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And you see people putting things in the chat, you know, they feel like it's, Alyssa said, it feels like it's the end of school already. Irene talking about the system is asking teachers to do so much more besides teaching the curriculum. And I think you're right, Irene, there's plenty of path for us to talk there for sure. As we think about this going forward, it's just really, I don't have an answer. Boy, sorry, tough break, man. I don't know. I don't got no answers. I'm waiting for you guys to pep me up, and so I'll make it through the rest of my day. That's what I was looking for. Very self-serving right now.
Your peppermint patties are in pumpkin shapes right now, are my happy place.
Well, that's fun. That's a good thing.
That bag might be gone by the end of the week, and it was bought on Friday.
At least I saw it. That's fine. It could be gone today. That's all right.
Mike, you're getting Legos to build.
I do, and I can finally bust out that giant head. You know what's great about this head, and just the fact that it's going to be moved is going to make my wife smile. I bought this for a presentation. And she's like, no, you didn't. I go, sure, I'm doing a presentation and I need this giant Lego head that sits in my office. And it hasn't moved since. And every once in a while I see her give it some side eye because I know it's just sitting on a shelf and I know she's not happy about it. But now I'll make an infinity cube later as I'm doing other meetings and stuff. All right, so what else should we talk about? Now that we've explained that no one's ready for new content, what should we talk about? I'm the master of a transition. You want a transition? I got a transition. There you go. I have in my hand, these are cards of things we've spoken about before and never really gotten super deep into. Are you interested?
I can put a plug in quick. Has anybody watched Jordan Zimmerman's her new video that came out? This is not about me. So I think it was the brother of whoever, I can't remember his name and I can't even pronounce it, that from Assistive Wear. But I think it's his brother made this video. I don't know, can I screen share? I can.
Oh, wait a second. Yeah.
I got it pulled up. So this is the video. And if you just go to this is not about me.film.
That's what I was going to share too.
I watched it over the weekend.
Did you?
While I was changing my children's closets out because I'm in Wisconsin. So we need to switch from summer weather to fall weather clothes. And I was tired of the meltdowns in the morning about what to wear. So anyway, I watched that while I was switching out closets this weekend. And I pre-bought it, so I paid a little bit less. But it's $9.99. It's not a lot. And it is phenomenal. She really talks about, if you've heard Jordan talk, which I usually put a clip of her speaking to the school board in a lot of my presentations. I also saw her at Closing the Gap, so I'm pretty familiar with her story, which she was phenomenal at Closing the Gap. But it was really interesting look at her educational experiences. And if you're not familiar with her, she was basically in a segregated classroom until she went to a specialty sort of school called CARES, and I don't remember what that stands for, but it's in Ohio. And it was there that she first got introduced to AAC, and Proloquo Go is what she uses to communicate. But it really takes a look at the behaviors and some of the sensory and, what she needed to be regulated. And when that got put in place, how then she started communicating. She had no functional communication until she was 18. And she now is, she just received like honorable mention or something for the Judy Heumann Award. And she got her bachelor's degree after having no communication, being in a segregated classroom up until 18. From 18 to 21, then she must have got enough credits to go on to college, and she got a degree, her bachelor's degree in educational policy, and interestingly enough, and now she's getting her master's degree out in Boston, I believe. But I cannot speak enough praise about the video because it was really, really great.
Awesome. That's a great resource. Thank you. That feels much more productive for my day. I'm putting that on tap for the day. Oh,
I was honestly in tears, and I've heard her story before. It is just a really powerful message. At one point, she pulled out her PECS book that she had in like 10th grade, and you see where she is now. And the filmmaker said, well, she pulled out a symbol, and I think it was like cookies or something like that. And that was the only food word she had in there. And he said, well, how do you communicate if what you want to eat isn't cookies? And she just kind of chuckled and shrugged. And, like that was the source of a lot of the behaviors, was that lack of communication. And because of that, people really misidentified her as having an intellectual disability. And they pull out clips from her IEPs. And that was where I lost it and started crying, because it was just sad, but it is the reality for a lot of our students in schools. Yeah. So
excellent. I'll check it out.
Awesome. Sorry, I just joined.
Hi, Karen. Why are you sorry?
So Mike, I see you shared Jordan's presentation. I've actually heard her speak twice. Did anyone hear her speak at ATIA a couple of years ago?
I heard her at Closing the Gap.
Oh, good. Yeah, she's amazing. And so you've already talked about her. Okay.
We were just talking about the film that came out about her.
The second link is the film.
It's really, really great.
Yeah, she wants to be a special education lawyer. I wonder if yes. And I think she says that she wasn't exposed to vocabulary to a device until she was 18.
Yeah, watch the video, Karen. It's great. It's a great history of her life, and a lot of it, like they have clips from that Board of Education presentation that she did. But and there's bonus material, so make sure you like scroll down and look at the bonus material that goes with it, because the bonus material is also really powerful. The principal of CARES and one of her teachers, and then the disability rights lawyer that helped her family was also interviewed in those bonus materials, and it was just interesting. All of it was.
One thing the first time I heard Jordan speak was at a general education conference, which was really exciting. Alan November's Building Learning Communities conference in Boston. And it was so great that he was spotlighting her. She was a keynote speaker at that event. And so that's who needs to hear this stuff, right? We're preaching to the choir as always.
Yeah, exactly. So true. So Karen, we're just kind of in we're moving through and just having some kind of open conversation. If you have anything, feel free. If not, I will go to pink cards, which I have already dazzled people with and they're excited for, but
I got a question.
Please go ahead.
I'm trying to get together to do some PD for my stuff. Does anybody have any good resources for setting up and creating a like bite-sized PD?
Well, who's the audience? What's the topic? What are you trying to accomplish?
I'm my sped staff. So I do digital, I do all the tech and all the assistive tech for our special education department across our district. Granted, we're not a big district, but still a lot of people. Just a little bit of everything, because at this point in time, really people don't know what assistive technology is. We have so many apps, and our district has gone Chromebook wise. So how to use accessibility in the Chromebook, how to use accessibility on our iPads. I just want to be able to start getting things out there. And like we've all said, nobody's ready for it. So I'm trying just to get little stuff that I can house on a website or house on a YouTube channel, that when they need something, they can go and look. But I'm struggling to get started.
Bookshare did this a couple years ago, and they have it. I think it's their A to Z guide, but it has it to where you can go to either a web page that has your direct information or a YouTube video for your direct information. And it's just in alphabetical order. So if you're looking for something specific, you can go find, add a member. If you've forgotten how to add a member, add to a library, so that it's just really, everything's just listed and done. For you, it may be easier to do it by some category, whether it's Chromebook, and it may be that it's, in order of device on one page, but you have another page that's a total A to Z, of readability. Well, you can use this on an iPad, this on a Chromebook, this.
Yeah. But Rebecca, it sounds like, did I hear you say like they don't even see the need? Are you starting from scratch really? Because I would start from scratch too, just even a bite-sized piece. When was AT written into special ed law? Well, 1997. This is 24 years later. And what does it look like? And then, just kind of, the other thing too, I think I would do is send out a form to them about what are they interested to learn. And one of the things you'll discover is they don't necessarily know what they don't know. So I always put in a question I used to, but now whatever, you can put in a question in there. What year was assistive technology added into IDEA law to be considered for all learners? And you might find it very surprising. And, you got to start from there where what they understand.
Yeah. And always, I always find this idea of balancing between The process pieces I want to tell people about, and the tool pieces they just want to hear about. Finding some kind of happy balance.
Yeah.
Because if you don't give them some tools, you're going to lose them completely. But we all know they don't just need things about tools. And so maybe I would start, Rebecca, I do a quick inventory of what do we have? What do we have in district that we use a lot? And how can I get a little bit out about those things?
That's our SMART goal this year. So I took over this position, and so we don't have an inventory system of what we have. So my goal for the year is to inventory and label everything within the district. So that was on my thought process of once I know what I have, I can go through and say, do little videos that go with each of the tools.
Yeah.
And explain why, why would you even use a tool? Do you have students who are struggling with accessing text? Do they have print disabilities? Do you have students who, just start with, find out again, the tool recommendations are always related to a need.
Right. That's a nice opportunity to bring the process piece in without them even realizing you're bringing the process piece in. Is you start asking those kind of deeper questions like Karen just said, and it makes them start to consider and think and take a step back almost. And like, oh, well, maybe I don't need another app. Maybe I need to understand why I wanted an app in the first place.
We're doing lots of that right now. Nebraska has decided to put in, we have to show our policies and procedures for assistive technology. It's something that we have to report on. And so
wow,
our SPED leadership team within our district is going through all those check processes. Do we have this? And where is it? And is it good enough, or do we need to add? And the assistive technology piece is like 2 lines, which is not okay. But it's a slow process because really, truthfully, nobody, the consideration is on a low end. We don't use assistive technology, or they don't realize they're using assistive technology. So I'm like just trying to put those little bits and pieces out there, but not overwhelm my staff.
Yeah.
So you're in Nebraska, Rebecca?
Yes.
Do you know Brian Wojcik?
Yeah, Brian, I do some mentoring with Brian in the cadre class and that. So, and I took his college class, so I'm good with it, Brian.
Just want to make sure that you knew him.
Yep.
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
And I gotta feel like that's Brian's fingerprints all over this idea that at a state level that schools need to understand their own process. That it felt very Brian-y.
Yes.
So yeah, that makes sense. That's good.
They have our ATP down that he's taken over has got lots of videos out and they do a lot of webinars, but a lot of it is like an hour. And I'm like, they just can't handle an hour yet. Like I can't say, hey, go watch this. They just don't have an hour to watch.
Yeah. It is interesting. And I wonder if there's some opportunities for that to go back to the places that are making these videos and say, can we chop these up? And by we, can you is really what you're asking. Can you make these more bite-sized, right? This idea of 10 or 15 minutes. And even if it becomes a series, it feels more manageable for people. And the other thing that I found really successful, Rebecca, is finding different ways to present this information to people. And I find that some of these YouTube videos I'm sharing with people are not much more than someone talking. And so I pull the audio down also and offer it to them as an audio clip. That way they can kind of layer that into their day at a time where they're not sitting in front of a screen, but maybe they're doing something else, but they're available for audio. Then they can listen, almost like podcasts, but it's really just downloaded audio from YouTube videos.
Yep.
And that's been helpful for some teams, for some of these kind of heavy that are conversationally heavy and not as much screen share or any of the visual elements.
Google Slides, you can do that too. So you can set the play time of a YouTube video. So even if you found a resource that you like, you can put each clip on a different slide and then just have it play, a certain time frame. So you could sort of, put some bullet points about what you want to get from that clip and then, go to the next slide and play a different section. So you can edit videos in that way easily just using Google Slides too.
Yeah, that's such a great point, right? It's such a great tip. Jennifer, you win for the day because it is such a great tip. And I use that all the time. It's like, no, I don't want you to look at the first 10 minutes. just watch this 7 minutes in between.
And it helps you utilize stuff that's already out there. So you're
Yeah.
not recreating the wheels sometimes, but yet you can get your point across with just the pieces that you want to pull out. So
That's perfect, because that's, like I said, Brian's stuff is amazing. I did a college classroom, and I did AT cadre, and now I'm helping with coaching the AT cadre, and it's good stuff, but it's just, you've got to have the time to sit and watch that. And they've done it as a series, so they have it broke down, but it's very, I just need.
Yeah. Even though it's broken, it needs to be broken a bit more. Yeah.
Yep.
And you can also do something similar with Edpuzzle too. Take
Mhm.
those clips and then just, check for understanding, or do you have any comments? Because now you can just record your voice, any thoughts, anything you'd like to learn more about.
Yeah. I think that's really good. I think that idea of finding opportunities to have people reflect on that, whether it's Google Forms that go with it. I like Jennifer's idea of the slides where people can just watch parts, and then giving them some other way to respond back and start to build a conversation, and make it feel not one way, like, oh, just watch this, and then just watch this, and then just watch this. And then at some point people are like, well, why am I watching all these things?
And the Google form and the Edpuzzle is good, because my hope would be that we can work that in so that they can get credits. If you do this, you
Right.
can earn your professional growth time
Right.
by
Right.
watching so many videos. Once you click that you've watched so many, we'll give you professional growth point for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the hook, right? That's the carrot on the stick, is the, oh,
Yep.
you're going to get credit for this. So it's not,
Yeah.
and I've heard people say this, and I'm not thinking it, I'm just saying, I've heard people say, I don't want to waste my time watching things. All right, great.
Yeah, you got to
thanks.
give them the hook and the buy-in,
Yeah.
and when they earn those points, and they need them for certification, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
so it's a win-win that way, because
For
we
them, yeah.
want more gen educators and special educators to be aware of what's possible.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. The
Thank
trick
you.
comes,
That gives me some good ideas.
good. Awesome. The trick comes in when you're in a state where they don't have any of those points, or they don't need them. And then you don't even
Are there
have,
states where you don't need professional development
we
points?
don't really in this state need that anymore.
In New Jersey, you don't?
Yeah.
Oh.
There
don't
used to
know.
be a regulation for that, and it's since not really a thing.
I don't know that I have to have it for my teaching certificate, but I have to have it within my school district. Our school district requires us to have so much. Now, you can get most of your points just by attending all of our PD days that
Right.
we have within the
Yeah.
district.
Yeah.
But
Right.
So how do New Jersey folks re-up their educator certificate if they don't?
The way Rebecca just said, a lot of it is that
within
it's kind of
district.
district level,
Oh,
and it magically equals the right amount by going to all the things that the school hosts throughout the year. And really, if you just sit there for the whole staff in service day, you probably get the points you need. So there's not a whole lot of an incentive to go beyond that. Right? And so, you have to find a different way to kind of tie them in and kind of grab them.
huh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. it
Going
is
back
interesting.
to those clips, I mean, all the research out there shows that people tend to pay attention to, clips of videos that are in that 5 to 7 or 8 minute range. And so we know that they're going to get more out of it if we can be succinct in what we're communicating, instead of watching, even a half hour or 45-minute long webinar. You're going to be more engaged if you can do those little clips. I think Sarah Gregory's done some great examples as far as AAC goes of keeping things succinct and quick and on point. So watching some of her YouTube videos can maybe give you an idea as well.
Yeah, for sure. And don't discount some of those videos from the manufacturers and the companies themselves, because they know exactly what Jennifer just said. They're making short clips. It's 3 minutes long, and here's how our stuff works. Oh, and you want to know more? Here's another video of 3 other minutes telling you something else. And that's a really good way to look, even if it's built-in accessibility features. I mean, Google and Apple, there are nice videos out there already that are short, that can kind of introduce those features to people. So They don't have to dig
I
too
will
deep.
say on that though, like Toby Dynavox, just because I'm more in the AAC world, they're hosting their videos on their website. So it's really frustrating to me because I used to be able to embed a YouTube video within like my Google Slides and stuff. And now when I do a link, it just brings that person to like a page with all their videos. And I think we need to do more talking about why it's beneficial to host things on YouTube or making that content more accessible, because we have so many Google districts. I can do an ed puzzle, but I feel like my staff are going to respond better to using G Suite or Workspace now, all those Google products, because that's where we live. I can do a Google Classroom on core vocabulary and they know how to interact with that versus, maybe Edpuzzle or Wakelets or different things. So I tend to like things that play nicely with Google.
Yeah. And that's tricky. That's a tough one. If you go from the perspective of the company is going to say, oh, that all sounds well and good, but I'd really love you to come to my website. Right. And so I get that. I get their idea there. Can you right click on any of those videos and get an actual video link? Or is it just embedded in such a way? Yeah, most times they are just
I have gone
You have to be
like,
signed in.
You can open up the source code, so you can actually dig and find the link to the video. But they make it way, way harder than they need to. Like if you open up the source code in Chrome, you can find the little embed link, but it takes a little bit of investigation.
I wish YouTube would have a separate educational purpose, because we have a lot of districts here in Oklahoma that they've just blocked YouTube 100%. So even the teachers who want to use a really great video can't.
Well, and Workspace just shifted and dropped a whole bunch of different permissions so that a lot of things that were previously available are now not available if you're not 18 or above. And it kind of slammed the like I just saw a ton of like, oh crap messages come through the Google certified trainers email list. Like, now what do? We were using this, and now like there's not even a way in the admin console for them to like re-enable it. They just decided can't have it.
That becomes one of those moves. If you find that you're using some of these videos a lot on YouTube, this becomes one of those moments where, I at home, I would download those to my own computer and then upload them into my Google Drive. Not me, since we're recording this, not me. I wouldn't do that.
I've heard others can do that. Yeah.
Some other people might.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they did that because you now have that subscription to be able to download their stuff, I'm wondering if that's why they did that.
Yeah, I wonder if that's why, right? To give more people access to it. It's a good question. Yeah. All right. Well, Rebecca, I hope we gave you some ideas, and hopefully you'll share with us as you go forward and give us some. So sorry, I didn't realize you were eating lunch. Sorry.
It's okay.
You'd give us some ideas of how it's going.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. That was exciting. That's fun. And if you have resources, share them. We would love to share. If you can think of a good site or a organization that's doing it well with sharing their videos. I know one of the schools I work with, they didn't want to put anything online. They wanted it to be internal. That was their want. And so we created a shared Google Drive folder that all these things live in with other embedded folders in there, which is all great, I guess. I don't know. That wasn't my choice, and I was only part of it just to help. But I wonder how accessible that is to people, especially people who are outside of school and not logged into their school account on their own devices. And then suddenly you can't get to that shared drive because you have to be logged in with your school account. And then people just kind of give up. And I've talked to educators. They're like, no, I'm not going to do that because I don't want my school email on my phone. And so they just lose access to all that stuff. And I was like, oh, that's too bad. So. Oh, look at Irene going right to the source. Irene in the chat says she's gone right to the author or the person of that YouTube video and gotten them to send a copy to use during a presentation. Irene, that's what I've done too. Good job. Me too. because someone who would just download it, that's not cool. Irene, good work. Says Mike as he turns his camera off and just clears out.
I
Sorry,
cannot tell a lie.
I've had people contact me for that, for, they saw something that one of the states that I did a training for put it up, and then they want their version of it.
Mhm.
And that it's hard to take some of the information that's pretty dense and then just say, okay, but if they want to break it down into a series,
Yeah, I think it's a great way to do it. I think it's interesting. It does take some thought though, beyond just kind of I'm going to take 40 minutes and just chop it into 10-minute bits, because it never quite works that way, right? It doesn't ever feel like a natural break. It doesn't quite make sense. So sometimes there is some rethinking of that. I have done that for some projects where I've taken the same kind of roadmap for an hour-long session and then reimagined it into 4 or 5 different little chunks and then redone it. And that seems like, because then you have these kind of natural breaks, like, okay, now you've heard this, go think about it, and when you're done, come back and hit this next part, and that kind of builds from there. So yeah, those.
I think that work in between is really important. I mean, that's a part of adult strategies, is not just sitting and getting, but doing something with it and then getting feedback on what it is that you've done. So for some of these places that have some of their money that they're using for professional development, we've been doing that, is taking what topic they're interested in and then breaking it into 3 or 4 sessions throughout the whole school year, so that people have time. We do 45 minutes maybe, and then they do something with that content, and then they'll get feedback on it, and then we'll come back and get more content, add to it, and just work through the whole process the whole year.
Yeah, makes sense.
I put in the chat box. Sorry, Mike.
No, you're fine.
I put in the chat box that I'm doing a book study for the state of Nebraska on comprehensive literacy for all, partially thanks to Kelly sending Brian my way. But we're doing it synchronous and asynchronous. So it's a Canvas course. They have stuff to do between, and we meet one time synchronously every month. And then they have some assignments, but it's not like if they don't finish every single thing, they don't get credit. But a lot of them are over the course of the year building an action plan for the next year. So every month I've chunked it so that they're doing work towards that based on the chapters we are in the book. And I think it's really, the feedback I've gotten so far is that they're able to digest it this way. When you pick up and you look at any book, but this book particularly, it's very meaty. And if you don't break it down and you don't spend time with it, so I think most of our concepts are like that. It's heavy. And if you try to do a 3-hour sit and get, they're going to walk away and go, where the heck do I even start with any of this? So I think chunking everything, whether that's the process for AT in your district, or how to use the SET framework, or like whatever it is, adult learners, just especially right now, I mean, like, to loop back around to the trauma presentation, like every one of us is in kind of like a heightened state of everything. So in order for it to be digested and for them to actually make forward steps on it, it needs to be digestible. It needs to be step 1, stage 1, here's your concise focus for right now, and then we're going to move on to something else after you've had time to process it, make sense of it, act on it, do something with it. Otherwise, it's just not effective, I don't think.
Right. It's just more stuff, right? It's just more.
Yeah.
That's how the cadre is working in Nebraska too. It works that same way. We meet as a team, and then there's 6 of us coaches, so we each have like 3 or 4 people that we meet outside of it, and then there's activities for them to do, and then we meet and we discuss the activities to do. And it's building. It's, what do you want to gain out of this, and how are you going to share it? Are you going to share it with your staff? What are you going to do with what you learn?
Yeah.
So
it's feeling like a flashback to my favorite thing, the accelerated learning model. It's that presentation, practice, performance. What are you going to do with these things? But we need to give people time to do that. Yeah. Karen and I were having a conversation after our Closing the Gap pre-conference about liking the idea that it was split across 2 days. Actually, it gave people at least a little bit of time to have some kind of reflective moment.
That's the old consensus model. Whenever people that are doing conferences ask me, what should we do? I'm like, you do the consensus model, which is every morning you return to the same presenter and the same topic. And then you had your 1 hour sessions in the afternoon. It was the best model ever for a live event.
And it's been shown again. It was really good because you had people that had a chance to come back that second day and were like, oh, they had kind of, I was thinking about that. And this is how I'm going to use it. And I think it's really powerful. And it's so much better than like we were saying, just dumping 6 hours on someone and then shaking their hand and wishing them luck. It feels a little bit more like it could live a little, which was exciting.
Yeah. Donna McNair and I are taking our pre-conference from last year at Closing the Gap, and they're asking us to break it into 3, 1 hour presentations across the next couple of months. And it's challenging to do it, but I mean, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah. And I would argue at the end of that, it'll feel so much more deep. The learning, even for you guys as the people leading that, it will feel so much deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Jennifer.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say some of my favorites are the pre-conferences because you get a little bit more of the in-depth information than just going from session to session to session with no sort of cohesiveness in topics sometimes. I mean, and I feel like you get that more in depth. You come back maybe for a second day if it's a 2-day pre-conference and you've had time to process through some of that information, have questions, can talk about that. So I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. I go back and forth in this whole idea of conferences, and sometimes an hour is just enough for certain things to trigger kind of a next thought. But I always feel like what really helped us with that ed camp that we do at ATIA is that idea is it gives you that day that night to kind of wrap it up. And okay, you've all heard a bunch of stuff. What now? Like, what are you going to do? It's the end of the week. I love telling people someone sent you here and they paid for it. They want you to do something with this. Unless you paid yourself, then free for all, you do what you want. But if someone paid for you to go, they're expecting you to make change when you come back.
Are we having ed camp this year?
Sure.
All right.
Whatever the Friday night is, let's do that. That was easy. That's about the level of planning, by the way.
I flew Southwest 2 weeks ago and got stuck in the mess and drove 900 miles back from Maryland. So I'm not sure that I want to do ATIA this year because when I did ATIA a couple of years ago, I got stuck in Atlanta with the Super Bowl on the floor that night. So I don't know. I've had some bad flying experiences. I might have to just attend virtually.
I don't know. What I'm hearing from you telling that story is these are fun travel stories. That's what I heard when I heard you explain that.
That's a nice one-on-one time with my husband. 2 weeks. 100
right.
miles worth. I don't know about fun, but.
All right. Well, maybe we can convince you to go in person. I think it'll be fun.
I like that. What Irene said, virtual ed camp.
There we go.
Yeah. And maybe we can find a way to kind of factor that in, Irene. I mean, it's a really good idea, actually. It's good. I'm searching for a piece of paper.
Can we parallel it in Kumo space?
Oh God, in Kumo space.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we can do something like that where we can
somebody
parallel
have it up in every room.
Yeah. Okay.
Part of the reason I'm going to ATIA is because it's just a drive for me, Jennifer. I don't know that I would be working out planes.
Well, the flying experience generally on the way out there was fine. It was the way back when it just got delayed for 2 days. That was the problem.
I feel like we've also gotten to a point in life that we are glamorizing flying before 2019. I want to give you a reminder that also sucked. So that was not great either. So,
cities a week sucked.
Yeah, it's just not great. Sorry, but I digress. Sorry.
I'm liking virtual training very much.
I think my hope is that going forward, there's a space for both.
Yeah.
I know not every setting or conference lends itself to a hybrid or high flex model, but I think that there are such advantages to both and not either or. Yeah. And I know it's not from an organizational perspective always the easiest thing to do, but
yeah, I agree.
Look how much further ATIA reached last year being virtual. I mean, how many corners of the world did we pull in because we were online and they could access us?
And the stats out of Closing the Gap were participants from 51 states and 11 countries.
You're not going to get that way.
Yeah. All right. I wrote down a note, so it's as good as done. Mark your calendars, Friday, January 28th, 2022, at night sometime.
Keep track of all those notes, Mike, is what
I just put them in a big stack over here next to me, and I just ignore them. And then I just layer more on top of it.
No, you add them to your Google Keep.
I wish. I start to, but then I forget. When I start leaving the office.
What does it
guys,
say?
we've done it. We've dragged along for
It's
7
the
extra
Rocketbook cloud cards. So that I scan them and they go right into my Rocketbook.
Good, actually, I like that.
And it can recognize my handwriting. They have the little QR code. And for those people who need the line, the other side is lined.
That's pretty fancy. All right.
And they just erase with a little bit of water when you've used your Frixion pens.
Are they just like note cards, but like Rocketbook note cards?
They're Rocketbook
That's kinda
note
cool.
cards.
That is cool.
And then Mike, I don't know if you've used it, but I also, they're buried somewhere here. I also have the beacons, which are the orange squares. Anytime I go and we write a whole lot on a board, I have magnet on the back of mine. I put them on the board, take a screenshot, share it with everybody in the room. So much easier.
So to give you a little sense of what we're working on here in New Jersey, and Naomi and I, we are partnering with one of our universities, and we provided them funding to buy those beacons for quite a few classrooms. And I'm going to think Naomi might be able to throw the number in the chat. And they are going to put them in as many classrooms as they can, as more of a UDL kind of all notes for everyone approach. They're going to start in rooms that students get note-taking services, but the idea is they're going to blow it to as many as possible, so that it will become, if you're in a room with a whiteboard space, you could pull that information down instantly. So yeah, those are pretty cool. Yeah. So we'll see. They're just in the process of getting them. So hopefully we'll have some experience for that once we get to the spring. All right. That's it. This might be the longest we ever went, guys. 109. I like that none of us had anything else to do and we just kept riding it out.
I kept typing in, see you later. And then you kept saying, well, we're wrapping it up. So I'm like, I deleted
Put
it.
it now, Karen. See you later. You can write it in the chat. I'll type it too.
See you later.
I think it's more that I want to ignore the rest of my day and I enjoy this and just want to keep going with
You
this.
have tapped
Not that there
into
weren't
exactly
things to
it.
do.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I
Has
have a
nothing
list
to
of
do
things.
with the task list and more to do with the present company is way more better than
I
the
agree.
tasks ahead of me.
I do not want most of the rest of my day. So this was very good. Thank you very much, everybody. All
What's
right.
AT chat for this week?
What is it?
What are we talking about?
Did Karen leave already?
Karen's already gone.
Karen left. Yeah, I don't know. Who could tell? It's only Monday. So do you have a topic? If you have a topic, I'll bring it to Karen and pretend it's mine and be like, Karen, I had a great
Put
idea.
a topic in when she was still here.
Yeah, she was thinking something would be a good topic for AT chat, but I have to scroll way back up and
All
try
right,
to
that's a lot of
remember what she
scrolling.
said.
I'll see. But if anybody has a topic, we're always up for ideas. So
It was a
great discussion.
discussion that we talked about at the beginning.
Oh, when we talked about the strategies and stuff.
Stress
Oh,
relief.
yeah.
Stress
I'll ask
relief
Karen.
strategies.
Now that Karen's gone. All right, I'll check in with her.
I won't be there. Sadly, I get to go to a district meeting all evening Wednesday.
That sounds like a blast.
So happy for you.
We'll be thinking of you while we're there. That sounds like fun.
Take your fidget in your pocket.
Fidget and some snacks.
Fidgets and snacks. There you go.
Fidget snacks and practice biting my tongue.
Perfect. That sounds like the
Those are good
recipe for an
goals.
outstanding
Yep.
night. All right, guys. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Have a good one.